Aloha. So I want to talk about something that's been on my heart and on my mind is our our conception of divine love and how it appears to me to be more than we have um, perceived it as. So yeah, I wanted to go through some thoughts that I was having, and yeah, let's dive in. So I used to think of agape as the divine love, like many others do. Um, that this is unconditional love, or that this unconditional love was the type that the Almighty loves us with, and that is true. Uh, Others say agape is simply what we call charity, or leave the Greek out of it entirely and say love is simply charity. And this is the distinction of divine love. But to exist within either framing is to miss out on the fullness, in my opinion. It is to not think critically enough about this perspective. Um, yeah, we'll get into it. The word agape is neither Hebrew or of Christian origin, really. It is to an extent. It was made most famous um, by Christians, but it originates with back in all the way back to Homer, I believe. Um, Furthermore, to make the distinction of eros, philia, storge as supposed types of love, while considering agape as the only divine love, is incoherent to me. Um, if agape is divine love, and the Almighty is love, and love is perfect, like we've discussed earlier, then um, this other stuff that we see isn't actually love. It's something else then. So I would argue that instead, divine love is the perfection of all four in complete unity, in perfect unity. A holy hagios love that humanity is incapable of creating or manifesting from themselves, and instead can only be a vessel of. The four types, however, we can operate within to lesser extents. They are what righteousness is developed through. So, with this, the four types of love, the way that I have kind of been able to grasp them, I see it as eros and agape, bookending what love is, from from a micro to macro scale, with some level of analogy to it, and some I'm still going through all of this stuff and figuring it out. But these are my thoughts so far. Eros is the personal intimacy and union shared between one and one other. It is that tight-knit, intimate knowing, and it is the passionate desiring and existing with. That's what I would call eros, and it's this very personal one-to-one thing. And then taking a step out a little bit wider, you have storge, which is that of the parent and the child. And we've talked about this a little bit, but it's the parent and the child, or the child and the parent, and the mentor and the student, or the student and the mentor. from either perspective. With the perspectives being the parent or mentor uh, uh, discipling, in some way being discipled by, but discipling the child or student, or the other perspective of the child or student eagerly accepting discipleship or discipline from the parent or mentor. And then there's some of discipling or that in there as well, because it is relationship, despite the hierarchical level of it. Yeah, and there's a camaraderie with it. I would say Storge and Philia are both types of camaraderie. That this is just the hierarchical, the vertical hierarchy of camaraderie, and Philia we'll get to. And yeah, this is spread out a little bit because it's not exactly one-to-one. It is shared with few, but with few. The mentors that you have in your life, your parents or your parental figures. It's not very wide, but there's definitely, more to it. And then so back, I would say Eros is relentless love. That's a good way of thinking of Eros. And then with Storge, it is both on one side tough love, and then on the other side reverent love. I guess that's kind of what I've worked out so far. It's kind of a reverent love, or a some form of like openness, receptional love, or something like that. And yeah, then there's Philia, which I would say is very similar to Storge, but differs on being the pure level. It's the horizontal hierarchy, and it's a unique level of camaraderie that is immensely powerful. And it's even wider than the first two. So you've got Eros, and then Storge as it comes out, and then Philia, which again, pure level, that kind. It's not exactly age oriented, but it's just that peer-to-peer level that goes out even wider. And then finally, you have agape, and it's the most macro humanist or environmentalist level of right relationship with all of creation. It is seeing them with a vision, and thus having an unconditional love that springs forth from their inherent value and beauty and dignity as a human or as a creation of the Almighty. And so that brings it all the way out. And then beyond this, when one taps into the blending of all four of these, because that's what makes discussing this kind of difficult, is the fact that they kind of can weave together, as they're all love, and so they're all very connected. And so I would say with the blending of all four of these, what is happening there is actually when one is being used, or not being used, kind of being used, but more so being in correct posture to be a vessel for divine love. It's more letting divine love come through you, and yeah, it's a perfect unity of all of these. This perfect union of perfection, this divine love, my perception of divine love, or what I'm grasping at, that's the mystery, how that can be is a mystery. It's yeah, and so we can't fully understand this stuff, in my opinion, and I think we get to that a little later. Oh yeah, we're getting right into it right now. Similar to many spiritual descriptors or differentiations, like physical and metaphysical, these are placeholders solely for our benefit. By some strange twist of fate and poetic irony, as Scooby-Doo and the gang pull off the mask, the propositional knowing is the actual metaphorical truth. Once again, we do not understand the riddle and see it dimly even. But there's obviously utility in these descriptors, but only for the sake of grappling with things. But only for the sake of grappling with things that develops. For only for the sake of the grappling with things that develops righteousness, or to better love like divine love, and to more often and more thoroughly be a moon, reflecting that love. Yeah, so divine love, I would say, is love at all costs. It's the most radical of love. So stick that in your theodicy and smoke it. Aloha.